What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for checking out Beyond the 90 once again. Leicester have just beaten Stoke away in the FA Cup 4-0. We've got Glenn with us and Alex as usual. Glenn, over to you. What are your initial thoughts of the game?
Well, to be honest, I think pretty comprehensive, pretty comfortable, and certainly in the second half as well, I'd say pretty clinical as well. I think it was a lot of people were looking at the fact of how many changes was Brendan going to make, and I know I thought he was going to go down the route of lots. I thought he was going to be looking at maybe 9 changes, similar to how he was changing around before with the Newcastle game and before that, and but no, only went with the couple of changes, which of course he hinted at the fact of the 2 changes at the press conference with Madders in his knee and Vardy with his issue with his hip groin sort of area. But no, I was pleased. I mean, a lot of people have been saying how they're looking at the priority for the Europa League or the Premier League because they've got the 2 ways into the Champions League. But of course, everybody loves a cup run. The cup that we've never won. And we all want to see us getting through something like that. So I was pretty pleased with the team that he put out. And then, like I say, pretty comprehensive after. Certainly once the goal went in, I think that was it really. I mean, Stoke had their chances with the set pieces. I was still worried about any of those set pieces coming in, as we've been a bit dodgy on those recently anyway. But then once we started not giving away any of those silly fouls that we give a few away in the first half, then I think we settled down really well.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'll just come back to the starting lineup, Alex, because since I can remember, since we came into the Premier League, that's pretty much the best starting lineup as I can imagine. And it was surprising that he went so deep because, again, as we were saying with Glenn, the fact that he started such a strong lineup at the beginning, it was a bit of a surprise. But I think all in all, it was a game. Sorry, why do you think initially coming into the game that he decided to go for such a strong lineup?
So, you know what? I was quite shocked to see the lineup that he did bring out. So my first question that I kind of thought was, okay, when is the next game we're playing? Saw that it was about a week down the line, and I'm like, okay, well, that's probably why. You're not going to be, he realized that you're not going to be playing a game now and then playing a game 3 days later. You have time to rest, so why not put your best team that you can? The players that need the best, like the most rest, then rest them. But give the opportunity for everybody else. And it doesn't really matter. I think it's the best way that they can do moving forward because it still gives them that chance in the FA Cup. They're doing well in the Europa League. In the Premier League, they're doing great. So why not give your first, your starting lineup and your first team players more playing time, when they still have the time to rest?
Yeah, I agree. Again, I was so similar to you where I was surprised at how strong he was starting the lineup. And one thing as well, just before we started, I think the fact that Iheanacho was not in the team, Glenn, that was quite a statement from Brendan Rodgers about what kind of team he's thinking of putting out because for me, he was a nail-on starter, but the fact that he chose to play Perez up there as like that kind of number 9 was really telling. The fact that I think Iheanacho's unfortunately not got a chance at the club anymore. Yeah,
I think it'd be interesting to see now what happens within this transfer window. There's been no hints as to anything really coming in for Iheanacho. But I think you're right. It was a bit of a statement there that it's unfortunate because everybody says how he's such a confidence player, and this can't be great sitting him on the bench. Now, I suppose they could. I mean, it's not as if it's a different system really either. So you can't even blame it on the fact, we're going to put you on the bench because we're going to play a different system. But I think even Perez found it difficult today as well. If it's still the fact that we have Vardy, that is the phenomenal player that he is, and it's very difficult then to have anybody else come into that position and has played the same way. And the way that Stoke are very big and strong at the back, it was difficult then whipping balls in and things like this. But it's. And then once Iheanacho came on, the game was done. It was dusted. We were going to be sitting back a little bit then. I wasn't expecting to see much from him once he did come on, to be honest. But it's now going to be interesting with the week break. I suppose I mean, Vardy's going to be back in next game. So, but it's going to be interesting to see them when there is an opportunity for Vardy to have a rest, be it in one of the cup competitions or whatever, as to what Brendan does. I think if he leaves him out for a second time, then yeah, that's really going to show what Brendan's looking at.
It really is, because he's had this time last season, he was looking at something completely different as well. And I think we'll move on to kind of the first half. And to be fair, there was a lot of kind of half-hearted chance at the moment in the first half. But then just putting on to you, Alex, with that James Justin. I mean, I tweeted Alex, or I messaged Alex, and straight afterwards going, Ricardo's not getting back in the team, because James Justin with that ball, and the fact that he's playing on the left when last time he was playing on the right, and we've talked about all the amount of times in different positions he's played, but this time that shot, I mean, he's just adding something to his game every single time.
And you're right. And I've been praising James Justin this entire season. What he's been able to do since, I would even say, since Ricardo's been injured, it's just been night and day. And he's really defined himself as a true starting Premier League player. That goal was just absolutely phenomenal. I think it was Matt Piper that said, best goal that he's ever scored, hands down, and I brought this up on Twitter. How does Ricardo Pereira get into the lineup? You cannot drop James Justin. There's not even a question about it, so now this is, and people were telling, I was reading comments and everyone's saying, you're comparing Mendy to Ndidi here. And I'm like, you're not. You're really not in this situation. I really, truly believe James Justin has reached this whole new level where it's a great issue, like a fantastic issue for Rodgers to have. Because, you have that opportunity that if you want, you can, play Ricardo further up, maybe where Albrighton plays, leave Justin in the back. You could put, Justin on the left, Ricardo on the right. You have a whole wide variety of different situations and formations that you can play both these players in. I will keep saying it. I don't even think we've really truly seen where James Justin will go. I think he will just continue to get better and better. And within our North American Foxes group chat, actually on Twitter, someone posted that he's almost put in 2,000 minutes this season or this year. He's the top player on Leicester to put for minutes, and he's not slowing down. He's only getting better. So I'm ecstatic to see what will happen moving forward with him.
Yeah, and since the beginning of the season, he's played I'm pretty sure he's played every single minute as well, which is absolutely outstanding as well. Another player that's obviously come back from injury on the right-hand side, he played Castagna. And in the last couple of games we've been talking about before, that he's slowly getting back into it today. And Glenn, I think we saw today, this was the Castagna we had from the beginning of the season, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, without doubt. I mean, I was actually surprised to see the switch across with Justin on the left and Castagna on the right. I prefer Justin on the right hand side. I think he's been a bit weak defensively on the left hand side previously. He did well today, both moving forward and coming back. But then you could see on the right hand side where Castagna, who before we'd talked about the fact of how he'd been making a pretty good partnership with Barnes down that left. Now on the right, he's just switched straight into that position and come in with Albrighton and with Pratt a little bit on the inside of them as well, and worked absolutely fantastic. And yeah, if as long as we can keep him injury free, then yeah, it's fantastic the way that he's coming back into this team. And again, another one that can move around the pitch. We've seen him play left back, we've seen him play right back. I know certainly for his country, he's playing further up the field in that as well. So we know that we can move him around into various positions. So yeah, I don't want to put either of those two, Justin or Castagna, into the bracket of a utility player. But it's fantastic the fact that we are able to use them in these various positions.
Yeah, you even look at the assist he got for Albrighton's goal. The fact the Albrighton goal for Barnes's goal, yeah. The fact that he got in the position where he's essentially playing as a number 10. That's a role that Maddison would normally play. So the fact that they've got the ability to get in different positions, and one of the reasons why I think they played the way they did is because if you take it back to this time last year, we'd probably just lost to Norwich, and that was the beginning of the spiral down, and we just couldn't get out of that hole. So one of the reasons why I think we started with this formation, go right, let's just hit them since we got the momentum anyway, was to maintain the fact that last season we would have dipped down and we couldn't get out of that hole. Now we've got a win. Now build on that win, and then as you were saying, since we've got another week, let's go again. And another player, obviously, I think in the first half it wasn't as flowing as potentially it could be. Typical with Leicester in the second half, they really stepped up their game, and I think one player in particular. Well, there was quite a few players to be honest, but Tielemans for me, Alex was. I mean, we've hyped on about him again, but today he just, in that second half, he just turned it up that extra gear, and Stoke couldn't cope with him.
No, they couldn't even deal with him at all. And I think we've been saying this, time and time again. Tielemans, and I use this term like I use for a lot of players, but he's playing at another level again. He's really, flipped the switch, and he's cranked, the level of compete and play that he's been playing, and it's just on a whole new level. No one could really do anything to stop him today. And just everything that he's been doing has been so positive. And I think when you have like a midfield that is gelling so well, it's just gonna wreak havoc for every team that you play against. And you're really starting to see that. And with Ndidi being fully fit again, you have that Tielemans and Ndidi relationship that they're really starting to gain control and move forward with. And then Madison as well, when he's there, all three of them are really gelling, and that's just causing more problems for really any squad that they're facing up against.
Yeah, it's looking really hard at the moment to pick even a starting, because I totally agree with the amount of players. That's one player though, in my opinion, that we haven't got a backup for. You look at the likes of Mendy and Ndidi, sorry, you've got a backup. You look at the likes of Nasser Yunchu's coming back in. Glenn, I know that Fofana is holding that position, and Alex was just mentioning how Justin is holding Ricardo at the team. Do you think it's the same thing with Fofana and Söyüncü? Because even though Söyüncü is fit now, he did play well, but I can't see him getting ahead of Fofana at this rate.
Again, it's another one that's it's a difficult decision. It is fantastic that Brendan's got these difficult decisions to have. I mean, today I think with Fofana, he if I wanted to be super critical, he gave away a few fouls that led to a few set pieces then for Stoke, which again, this was prior to the Justin goal. But every time they got a set piece, free kick or a corner, I was a little bit wary because of them being so strong and a big team when they bring the guys up. However, having said that, there was plenty of times when there was some of these set pieces that would come in, or a cross that would come in. He'd be the first one to the ball, and he would be bullying some of those Stoke players as well. The ones that are usually giving it, that Fofana was giving it back to them and leaving them on the ground, and I don't know whether that was something specific for this game, knowing that how strong that Stoke were going to be like that, and a pretty physical team, and that he upped the ante on that side of things. But with, Söyüncü then came in and looked solid. He played a through ball later on, split the lines that came down for one of the. I can't even remember which goal it was now that he played it through to. I think it was Barnes' goal where he broke it through the lines, and then JJ got it out and he crossed it, and then ended up with that goal. But it's a tough one because it's one of those ones where Söyüncü's been out for a while now. Fofana stamped his name into that position, and so it's going to be a difficult one for Söyüncü to be able to get his name back on that starting lineup, I think.
It is a tough one, but again, as we're saying, it's a brilliant, and as you were saying, Glenn, it's a brilliant thing to have as a manager, like a massive headache that you've got all these positions looking for. Just going forward in the second half, it kind of will come more to life, and there was some really good free-flowing football, Alex, that we've not seen from Leicester in quite a while.
No, it just seemed like whenever they got possession, they just moved it up quickly and were able to really maintain that possession. And like you said, we haven't really seen that a lot. They dominated play. Right from start to finish in the second half, they dominated play. whenever Stoke managed to maintain possession, someone on the Leicester squad was able to just jump right in and take that ball right away. Yeah, it's something that we really haven't seen, it seems like, in a while, and it's great to see that moving forward. And like I said, with the extra week of rest, I think it's just they can really focus on it in the training grounds, which will be something huge when they face Chelsea next week.
Yeah, definitely so. One thing I want to, obviously we'll go through the goals now, because there's 4, I think, brilliantly taken goals, and 4. First one wasn't as much, but the last 3 were very good team goals. So it's on to the second goal with the Albrighton for 59 minutes, and it was a kind of run we don't really see from him much, Glenn. But the fact that he cut in, took a player on, left him on the ground, then put it in the back of the net. I mean, that's not all Brighton, but that shows you kind of the confidence in the team at the moment.
Yeah, I thought O'Brien had a great game. I mean, it was pretty much almost a classic counter, with Yuri putting that inch perfect ball that pretty much went through McLean, who made a bit of a mess of things, really. Albrighton, he then took it well, and then he had the decision as to what he was going to do with it. I think if he'd have tried to have pushed it wide and crossed it in, we were having no luck doing that anyway. So cutting inside then and then bending it around the keeper like that was it was great. And then he had other chances as well later on, and he was all over the place though. He was working tirelessly down that right hand side, and I didn't see anybody this time at half time. In previous games, I've seen people going, get Albrighton off, blah blah blah, and then he would end up still having a great second half. And today again, he looked a bit gassed right at the very end. But I'm not surprised, because he gave it all on that, and and like I say, very well taken goal too.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think over recently is a player that we've kind of seen as Leicester fans has written off a little bit, but every time he manages to take it up the gear, get that consistent performance, and get in the team. And I think we were mentioning on the show before. One of the issues with Albrighton was the fact that he would just get his head down and whip it in. Now he's kind of developed this new relationship where even when Vardy's out the team, he's playing different balls. You look at the game against Newcastle, where he put the ball brilliantly through to Tielemans, who slotted it away amazingly. But it is looking amazing. And on to another goal as well, which he wasn't a part of, but coming from Pratt to Castagna to Perez, I think that was a really well-worked team goal, Alex.
Yeah, that goal was such a team-oriented goal. Everyone who had a hand in that was, played that to perfection. I think one of the things that, that one of the key players I think that really really shined today was Dennis Pratt. And unfortunately, he looks like he'll be out for some time with a hamstring injury. But, every time he touched the ball, he just seemed like he knew what he was going to do with it. And he set up that goal was, in my opinion, set up from him. And Perez worked hard all game, and he got rewarded with a goal. So another great team aspect of it. Team play to get another goal there.
Yeah, and it could have been a lot more as well, as you were saying, that the fact that the way the team were playing. And then on to the last goal with Barnes and the finish, and as you were saying, JJ running up one side through from Sionchu, Glenn, and just again a clinical finish. And the goal must be great, and also the confidence that this young team is going to take going forward is going to be immense.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the things is as well is that, of course, everybody talks about the fact of what are we going to do when Vardy's hung up his boots and all this sort of thing. And now we're starting to see that these goals are coming from all areas, and and different types of goals as well. I mean, the first goal that was obviously JJ's fantastic finish from outside of the box, and again we were looking at the fact of, are we going to be able to break them down to be able to get that goal with that first one. Of what they did with that is that there was 8 players actually on the right hand side of the pitch that were obviously concentrating on Castagna and Albrighton, and they passed it across to the left quickly, and he was able to cut inside, and then he only had the the couple of defenders that were charging down at him to deal with. And then, like I say, we have Barnes, who's been clinical recently as well. Perez's goal was a striker's goal, which just slotted it into the bottom corner there with the cut across ball, and then I've forgotten even who the other goals were now, but.
For which ones? There was those JJ, Albrighton, Perez, and Barnes.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So with Albrighton one we already mentioned and that as well. So we've got goals coming across from all over the place now, which is fantastic. So we don't get me wrong, Vardy's going to be the first name on the sheet all the time. However, it is fantastic the fact that now other teams have now got to worry about the other players as well. So rather than it just being like double up on Vardy, it's now, well, hang on, if we double up on Vardy, we've also got Barnes is going to be running at this, or we've got Albrighton is going to be coming across and pinging balls in and things like this. So it's another feather to the arrow that we've managed to add there.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's something that we've been mentioning since last season as well. The fact that we need another option outside Vardy. Instead of replacing Vardy, then we've got other players around. And obviously you're mentioning Albrighton, Maddison, but you got to look at the fullbacks as well. You're looking at the likes of James Justin and Castagna now bombing on, and even if you mark them out the game, which is really hard, you've still got Tillemans and even Ndidi at times picking a really forward movement. But as well as them having them forward positions, the fact that we can still run back and defend, I think, is something that's really underrated in this squad. The fact that when they get the ball in the turnaround time, we don't let them have any time on the ball and we pressurize them to get them back, Alex, I think is something that is underrated, but is part of the reason why Leicester play so well. And the level of fitness that you need for that is quite a lot.
Yeah, and it's not like you see the midfield as the only players running back. You're seeing, like today, you saw Perez run back, you saw Barnes run back, you saw Albrighton run back, and it's something that's completely different that I didn't really recognize last season, because like everyone runs back to defend, and not only in this game, but there's been other games where we'll lose possession and we're all running back, and then you see Vardy sprinting. To catch up to a player to defend, and that's something that we really didn't see. So it's a completely different way on how they're defending, and it's great. And it's like I said, it's not just one or two players; it's every single player making an effort to get back there, and that's really making it difficult for squads to score against us.
Yeah, and part of the reason of that is we're actually defending set pieces, and we'll keep bringing this up because it's a good point because earlier in the season we were conceding, I think, more set piece than anybody else, and we've still yet to score one, but we'll definitely have a celebratory podcast on here where that finally goes in. But just over to you, because I'm Glenn, a little bit, because I know they didn't have the biggest threats, even though they had such physical and big team. But I think as well, defensively from set pieces, we've definitely improved over the last few weeks as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was still nervous about it today, I have to say, and I probably still will be for a while. But yeah, Fofana is getting so much stronger. Evans is also he's commanding that back line. Today as well, you could see him where he'd be pointing to Fofana, telling him to get into a position to receive a ball and things like this as well. So his knowledge of the game and being able to read the game is a massive part of that back line. And the way that we a lot of times we'll operate with the two, when we've got the two centre backs, and of course you'll have one of the fullbacks is usually bombing on. Then there's always somebody filling in. There's always somebody back there. And of course, when you got somebody like Ndidi that's sat in front of you as well, and that him being able to get his foot in and taking those tackles and being able to relieve any pressure from the back four, that's going to help as well. So, you take somebody like Ndidi out of there, that's a bit different. And even Yuri now, Tillemans seems to be, he's a little bit further back now in his game, which I know Maddison wasn't playing today, but I think before it's almost been, they've been encroaching onto each other's areas before, whereas he seems to have set back a little bit. It gives him, I think, that little bit more time to be able to see those through balls that he can put through as well. But defensively as well, it adds that extra portion in there as well. But I think that today with the set pieces, we picked up the players, I think, better. And let's say Fofana and Evans were getting to those first balls and getting them out. And then if there was any second ball to clear, then they were able to get that as well. But like Fofana's first header was usually clearing it no problem anyway, and giving us that respite.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, and again, it's something that we've talked about for a few weeks, and the fact that we were keeping a clean sheet is brilliant. I know Stoke are a championship team. We should be putting them to bed with this team that we've got. However, we have seen in the past where we've lost games like this, and the fact that he's taken the cup seriously is a good thing. Just finally, before we finish, I want to get Alex your man of the match, because there's quite a few to choose from, and I'm still not sure myself. Just what off the top of your head, what's a couple you can think of? Or because for me, it's really hard to choose a specific man of the match today.
So 3 came to mind. I had James Justin, Dennis Pratt, and Yuri Tillmans. Now, between the 3 of them, I'm going to choose James Justin because yet again, he's just played absolutely amazing, and he's been doing that all season. And like I said, sky's the limit for this guy. I think we're just going to see him get better and better. And I got to give that shout out to Dennis Pratt because he did play a fantastic game. And unfortunate, with him getting injured, they're going to have to reevaluate us to see what's going to happen depending on the length of his injury. But overall, James Justin is my man of the match.
Yeah, let's hope he has a speedy recovery, because that's a hamstring injury, so that's not going to be a long time, unfortunately. And that was one of the issues I had coming into the games. In case somebody like Yuri Tillemans or a Wilfred Ndidi or a Kasper Schmeichel picked up an injury, then we're all slating the manager going, why did you play us against the Stoke side where we don't need to, and we're doing so well in the league, in the Europa League? Anyway, over to you, Glenn. Who else would you nominate for your man of the match?
Yeah, like you say, we could have picked one from a handful, to be honest. I think a lot of people were looking at JJ. He had some fantastic work that he played there, both up front and defensively as well. And I agree with the fact that Yuri, who commands that midfield, along with Ndidi with his defensive work as well, and Pratt was working tirelessly in that combination with Castagna and Albrighton. But I want to throw Albrighton in there as well. I think again, it's just that tireless work down that right hand side, and then sometimes using Castagna as an extra man down there as well. And I think during the second half, Stoke actually were letting Leicester actually have the ball wide, and I think they were thinking, you know what, whip the ball in, and our big centre back to be able to deal with it, and that made Albrighton think a little bit more then. And then he was starting to do different things, and he started other little passes. And of course, they ended up with the cutback for the goal and things like that as well. So just for the fact that most of the people are going to say that it's JJ, I'm going to give it to Albrighton.
Yeah, I was going to say Albrighton as well. Another person I was going to say was, again, as you mentioned, Wilfred Ndidi, because the work rate and what he offers the team, and again, we could talk about him for ages, and we have done on previous podcasts as well, because the amount that he gives the team, and his ability to just guard that back line, and the fact that you don't need to play 3 at the back if you've got Wilfred Ndidi in your team, is a massive win for us. Like when we had Kante, it was essentially like playing 2 players at once. So it was great. I think Ndidi is one for shout. Albrighton was a brilliant one. Don't think Barnes had quite the standard of game, but even Castagna, I would say, in that set for the second half performance, it was brilliant and back to his best. But yeah, we look forward to the game on against Southampton. And just over to you, Alex. That'll be a tough one, won't it?
Isn't it Chelsea?
Sorry?
Is it
Chelsea? I think it's Southampton, then Chelsea.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, no, then I must have jumped the gun. I'm excited for it. Southampton's been one of those teams surprising this year. I don't think we've really expected them to be where they are in the league. So it will be a very interesting game. I think I still think that they're going to want that revenge for that 9-0 just demolition last year. So I can totally see it's going to be a good game, and I'm excited to watch it. Now that I have to look at to when they actually play. But no, I'm excited to watch it.
It's going to be on the 16th of January, and UK time it's 8 o'clock, so it shouldn't be too bad, I think, in Canada. What about you, Glenn? What's your final thoughts for the Southampton preview?
Well, it's good that the fact that we've got another week to be able to rest up and prepare for it. It's going to be interesting to see with the Pratt injury, along with how Maddison is. I'm thinking that Maddison and Vardy is just precautionary. They've both been have had these little niggles for a few weeks now, so I think Maddison will come straight back into the team there. But if Pratt's is a long-term thing, we're going to have to look at the fact of, can we bring KDH back from Luton? I don't know what the loan deal is with that, whether we can or not, but that could be an option. But I think that we would, apart from the injuries, I think we would probably start with a pretty similar team to what we did today, by the fact of Maddison coming in for Pratt and Vardy moving back up front.
Yeah, hopefully that will be the case. And yeah, so thank you both for joining me. Really appreciate your time. Make sure you like, subscribe if you're making this for. Thank you for watching, and we'll see everybody in the next video. So goodbye.